Before you judge this story, I need you to be honest with yourself. If the person you loved with all your heart stood before you, with pride in his eyes, but betrayal on his lips, would you forgive? Or walk away forever? I chose the world over us, Chike had said once, words sharper than knives, and they haunted Adaeze every day since. That line so simple, so final became the heartbeat of a story that would test loyalty, pride, and love in ways only life and tradition could teach. It was a humid Thursday afternoon in Lagos. The city alive with honking cars, street hawkers shouting their wares, and the incessant hum of generators. Adaeze stood on the balcony of her family home in Ikeja, staring at the traffic below like she could find answers in the endless flow of people. The smell of jollof rice from the kitchen barely reached her. Her mind was elsewhere, replaying Chike's smile, his promises, the day he left for the world instead of for her. Chike and Adaeze had grown up together in the same neighborhood, playing barefoot along the dusty roads, learning life through the stories their grandmothers whispered at night. Folktales about loyalty, greed, and consequences were their bedtime stories, but neither had realized how soon those tales would become their reality. A man who abandons his roots loses more than he gains. Adaeze remembered her grandmother saying, her voice thick with authority. That line once sounded like a lesson for children. Now it rang like a warning she had ignored too long. 3 years ago, Chike had left abruptly. No explanation. No farewell. Adaeze's heart shattered that night when she found his apartment empty, his clothes folded neatly as if he'd never lived there. Rumors spread like wildfire he was mingling with politicians, rubbing elbows with elites, chasing wealth while leaving his family and promises behind. Adaeze confronted him once in a text. "How can you choose the world over us?" He replied simply, "I have to build a life for both of us. Trust me." That was the last she heard from him, and her trust became her pain. Now, 3 years later, destiny was about to rewrite everything. Chike had returned to Lagos for a political gala, his name whispered across billboards, his face smiling from television screens. Everyone in the city wanted him, but only Adaeze wanted the real man behind the glamour. She knew the stakes. His world was dangerous, full of ambition and influence, and hers was love tempered by patience and wisdom. As she walked toward the venue, memories struck like thunder, late-night conversations under mango trees, promises whispered beside the lagoon, laughter echoing in the neighborhood. She asked herself, could she face the man who chose ambition over their shared life and not crumble? And then she saw him, standing tall, confident, radiant in his expensive suit. Chike's eyes met hers. For a second, time paused. The crowd, the city, the noise, they all disappeared. Only the story that had begun with a promise and ended in betrayal existed in that moment. Would Adaeze forgive him? Would Chike realize the cost of his choices? Or would the world he loved more than her finally break him in ways he couldn't imagine? Chike didn't see Adaeze the moment she entered the gala hall. He was surrounded by the world he had chosen, the politicians, socialites, and media influencers whose smiles were polished, whose conversations were shallow, yet whose approval meant everything. The chandeliers reflected on the marble floors like a river of gold, and every compliment he received felt like a reward for the sacrifices he had made, sacrifices that included her. But when his eyes finally landed on Adaeze, time froze. She looked different yet familiar, powerful yet vulnerable, the embodiment of everything he had left behind. Her presence pulled at memories he had buried, childhood games in the streets of Ikeja, whispers under the mango tree, laughter that could light even the darkest Lagos evening. For a moment, he questioned his choices. Adaeze didn't approach him. She watched silently from a corner, arms crossed, lips pressed tight with restraint. The girl who had once believed in fairy tales now carried herself like a queen tempered by hurt. Chike felt the sting of his absence, the nights she cried alone, the whispered prayers for his safe return. His world glittered around him, but it was hollow without her. As the night progressed, Chike's ambition demanded action. He networked, made deals, shook hands with faces he barely remembered from press photos. Every nod and laugh was a step further from Adaeze. He was caught in a world where approval was currency, and every opportunity required compromise. And compromise, he realized, sometimes came at the cost of those you love most. The turning point came when an influential senator whispered an opportunity in Chike's ear. one that could catapult him into the political elite. But there was a condition. Chike had to publicly support a controversial policy that Adaeze's family and community opposed. It was a direct betrayal of his roots, his people, and the woman who had loved him unconditionally. Chike hesitated. A part of him, the part that still remembered barefoot games and shared screamed to refuse. But another part, the part that wanted recognition, power, and the world's applause, overruled it. He smiled politely at the senator and nodded. Adaeze, standing across the hall, saw it happen. Her heart cracked in slow motion. She had known ambition could tempt him, but seeing him choose the world over their shared values, over love itself, was a pain she couldn't put into words. She turned away, unable to witness the final blow to the dreams they once nurtured together. Later, as she walked the streets of Lagos, the neon lights reflecting in puddles from the afternoon rain, she remembered the folktale her grandmother used to tell: "The man who chases gold and glory may find both, but if he abandons his heart, he will return to empty arms." Adaeze knew the story now wasn't just a tale, it was her reality. And Chike? He toasted to success that night, oblivious that in choosing the world, he had lost something far greater. Pride shimmered in his chest, but loneliness lurked just beneath, a silent warning that not all victories were worth winning. The stage was set. Betrayal had been committed. And somewhere, deep in the heart of Lagos, the consequences were quietly gathering, waiting to test the man who had chosen ambition over love. The days after the gala were heavy, as if Lagos itself had shifted under Adaeze's feet. The city never slept, but she felt like she was walking through a dream, one painted in neon lights, rain-slicked streets, and memories she couldn't erase. Every billboard with Chike's face felt like a reminder of the man she loved and the man she had lost to the world. Chike, meanwhile, reveled in his newfound attention. His name was on social media, in newspapers, and even whispered in political circles as the next rising star. Everyone celebrated his success, but the celebrations rang hollow in moments of silence. He had expected joy, applause, and satisfaction, but all he felt was a gnawing emptiness. Every handshake, every smile from strangers, reminded him of the one person whose approval he craved above all else: Adaeze. She refused to answer his calls. The text messages went unanswered. Each "I chose the world over us" burned anew in her heart. Yet, she couldn't stop thinking about the boy who once promised never to abandon her. Lagos was full of people, but it felt empty without him as he once was. The man she trusted, not the man chasing glitter. Chike tried to bury the guilt in work. Meetings, parties, media appearances, he kept moving, telling himself that time could erase the past. But Lagos has a way of reminding you of what you've forsaken. Every corner of the city seemed to whisper her name. The mango tree they had once sat under now cast long shadows over his memories. The streets where they ran barefoot were paved with ambition and loneliness. Then came the first real consequence. A former ally, whom Chike had subtly betrayed to rise faster, began questioning him publicly. Rumors of unethical deals surfaced online. His world, so glittering and perfect in its own reflection, was starting to crack. People celebrated him in person, but behind closed doors whispers circulated. Trust, Chike realized, couldn't be bought, especially not with ambition alone. Adaeze heard about the rumors, but she didn't rush to help. She was still hurt, still grappling with the weight of his choice. Her family advised caution, reminding her of the old folktale: "He who climbs for gold without roots in the soil will fall into the gutter." She watched from a distance, a quiet witness to the man who once promised her the world, now risking even that for his pride. One evening, Chike called her again, desperation threading his voice. "Adaeze, I need you." She paused. 3 years of heartbreak, pride, and betrayal pressed against her chest. Could she save him again? Could she trust the man who had abandoned her dreams, their love, for the applause of strangers? I can't do this for you," she said, voice trembling but steady. "You made your choice. The world is yours. But you chose it over us?" Her words echoed like a judgment, and Chike realized something vital. The world had given him everything he wanted, yet the one person who truly mattered was out of reach. The applause, the glitter, The influence, all of it, was meaningless without her. The stage was set for the final confrontation. Chike would have to face not only the collapse of his ambitions but the truth about the cost of choosing the world over the heart that had always believed in him. And Adaeze, standing strong, would hold him accountable, not out of vengeance, but out of love, pride, and the wisdom of those old Nigerian folktales. The following week, Lagos seemed smaller, quieter, almost as if the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Chike's life, which had gleamed so brightly just days before, now shimmered like a mirage. Rumors of shady deals, missed deadlines, and political missteps made headlines. The applause he had chased faded into whispers, and for the first time, he felt the weight of his choices pressing down with the full force of reality. He couldn't sleep. Every night his mind replayed Adee's words. "You chose the world over us." He had thought ambition was everything. Now he realized that success without love, without loyalty, was hollow. His friends tried to reassure him, but they were part of the same world that had demanded he sacrifice his roots. None of them understood the emptiness he felt. Meanwhile, Adaeze observed quietly from her apartment overlooking the lagoon in Victoria Island. The city lights mirrored on the water like 1,000 tiny flames, flickering and fragile. She remembered their childhood Chike laughing as they raced barefoot through the neighborhood, their elders warning them about pride, greed, and the consequences of ignoring one's roots. She felt both sorrow and resolve. She wouldn't run to him this time. She wouldn't be a passive player in his redemption. Chike reached a breaking point. Invitations, parties, and accolades meant nothing. His heart ached for her, for the life he had abandoned. He knew the world he had chased could never fill the emptiness inside. Desperation drove him to her apartment. The streets of Lagos buzzed with life, but his only focus was the small door where Adaeze stood, arms folded, eyes wary. "I need to explain," he said, voice trembling despite his normally confident demeanor. She shook her head. "Explanations won't fix what you broke, Chike. You chose, and now you live with the consequences." He stepped closer. "I thought the world could make us safe, that it could give us a life we deserved. But I see now it has taken everything that truly mattered. I can't undo the past, but I can be honest. I can fight to make it right." Adee's gaze softened slightly, but she remained guarded. Nigerian folktales had taught her that pride and greed always carried a price. And Chike had chosen both. The question now was whether wisdom, love, and courage could outweigh his mistakes. The twist came when an old ally, one he had betrayed in his pursuit of status, showed up unexpectedly, threatening Chike's reputation and even his safety. The very world he had chosen over love now demanded a price he could not pay alone. Adaeze, though still wounded, saw a path. She could help him, but only if he proved his loyalty and sincerity. Her intervention wasn't just about saving him physically. It was about forcing him to confront the moral cost of his choices. She reminded him of the folktale her grandmother often repeated. The man who abandons love for wealth may reach the heights, but when the wind turns, he falls alone. Chike understood now the world he had pursued was fleeting, shallow, and empty. Adaeze, the woman he had abandoned for ambition, was the only anchor he had left. If he wanted redemption, he had to reclaim her trust, not by grand gestures, but by proving he had learned from the pain he caused. That night, Lagos didn't sleep. Two hearts, wounded but alive, faced the aftermath of betrayal, ambition, and consequences. And, for the first time, Chike realized that the greatest world he could conquer wasn't the one outside. It was the one he had abandoned inside Adeeze's arms. The Lagos skyline glowed in the evening light, reflecting off the lagoon like 1,000 golden threads. Chike walked slowly toward Adeeze's apartment, each step heavy with guilt and determination. For 3 years, he had believed the applause of the world was enough. But now, he knew better. Every deal, every handshake, every smile of admiration had cost him the one thing that truly mattered, her trust. Adaeze stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the streets below. She could feel the tension in the city, the electric hum of life, but her focus was singular. The man who had once promised her forever was now a stranger who claimed he had learned the value of love and loyalty. Could she believe him? Could she risk being hurt again? Chike didn't ask for immediate forgiveness. Instead, he began with honesty. Adaeze, I cannot undo the past. I cannot erase the nights you cried alone or the promises I broke. But I am here to face the consequences, and if you allow it, to make things right. Adaeze studied him carefully. There was no glimmer of arrogance in his eyes, only raw remorse. For the first time in years, she saw the boy she had loved, the one who raced barefoot through Lagos streets, who believed in folktales and in her. But could love alone repair what ambition had broken? I trusted you, she said quietly. I believed in us. And you chose the world over me. Do you understand the weight of that? Chike nodded. Every day, every single day, I felt the emptiness. The world gave me everything: fame, fortune, recognition, but it stole my peace, my heart, and the woman I love. I understand now that nothing is worth it if I lose us. Tears welled in Adaeze's eyes. She had grieved him, despised him, and yet, part of her had never stopped loving him. Nigerian folktales had taught her that pride and greed carry a price, but redemption is always possible for those who face their truth. The real test came when Chike revealed a betrayal he had committed in pursuit of the world, a scheme that endangered someone close to Adaeze's family. He admitted it openly, refusing to hide behind excuses. I chose the world over us, and I am ready to bear the consequences, he said. But I ask you, let me prove that I have changed. Adaeze's heart wavered. She could feel the sincerity in his words, the remorse in his voice. She remembered the folktale of the tortoise and the eagle, where cunning alone could not win. Only wisdom and humility could restore balance. She realized that Chike's path to redemption was genuine, yet fragile. Finally, she made her choice. Not out of weakness, not out of desperation, but out of understanding. I will give you a chance, she said. But this time you prove your loyalty not to the world, but to us. Chike reached for her hand. For a moment, the city faded. Lagos, the traffic, the neon lights, the chaos disappeared. There was only them, two souls scarred by ambition, betrayal, and loss, standing on the edge of a new beginning. In that moment, the meaning of the title revealed itself fully. He had chosen the world before, but now he chose differently. Love, loyalty, and trust were not mere words. They were actions, and this was his first real act of redemption. The night was quiet except for the distant hum of generators and the soft lapping of the lagoon. Lagos had witnessed many stories of ambition and betrayal, but this one, the story of a man choosing love over the world, was only just beginning to be rewritten. The first light of dawn in Lagos filtered through the apartment's windows, spilling gold across the floor. Adaeze and Chike sat facing each other, hands entwined, yet both aware that love alone would not undo years of pain. Lagos was waking up, street hawkers calling, buses honking, children laughing, but in this small apartment, time slowed, allowing them to confront what had been lost and what could still be found. Chike had spent the previous night recounting every choice he had made, every betrayal he had committed, and every moment he had neglected Adaeze in pursuit of the world. There were no excuses, no attempts to soften the truth. I was blinded by ambition, he confessed. I thought I was building a future for us, but I was only building a future for myself. I lost you, and in doing so, I lost myself too. Adaeze listened, her chest tight with emotions, pain, anger, but also relief. Relief that he finally saw the consequences of his choices, and pain because she had endured so much alone. Nigerian folktales had warned of men who chase wealth at the expense of loyalty. The greedy tortoise, the careless hunter, the king who lost his throne because he abandoned wisdom. She realized Chike had become one of those stories, but he was here, ready to rewrite it. The twist, the final revelation came when Chike disclosed a hidden truth. The world he had chased had offered him a position of immense power, but the cost was the manipulation of lives he had loved, including someone from Adaeze's family. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was moral. Adaeze's eyes widened, the weight of his confession pressing like a physical force. I wanted to protect you, he said softly, even if it meant hurting you first. Silence fell, heavy and pregnant. The kind of silence that separates the past from the future. Lagos roared outside, but inside, a quiet understanding grew. Adaeze realized that love was not just about being chosen, it was about choosing again with eyes wide open. She had a choice, to forgive, to reclaim trust, or to walk away forever. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady but soft. Chike, the world will always tempt you. But loyalty, love, and family, these are the things no wealth or fame can replace. You have a chance to make this right. But know this, I will not settle for words. I need action, honesty, and respect every day, every choice. Chike nodded, tears glinting in his eyes. I will spend the rest of my life proving that. Not to the world. Not to anyone else. Only to you. For the first time in years, Adaeze felt the weight of betrayal lift, replaced by cautious hope. They embraced not as lovers who had never been tested, but as partners who had faced ambition, betrayal, and moral challenges, and had emerged with a clearer understanding of what truly mattered. The moral resonated. A man who chooses the world over love may gain power, wealth, and recognition, but he loses the only heart that makes life whole. True fulfillment comes not from applause, but from loyalty, integrity, and the courage to choose love above ambition. Outside. Lagos pulsed with life, indifferent yet beautiful. A city of endless opportunity and cautionary tales. Inside, two hearts beat in rhythm, stronger for their trials, wiser for their losses, and ready to face the future together. He had chosen the world before, but now he had chosen them. And in that choice, both were finally free.